Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Kids today, so woke, Tom.
I know. These kids today. It wasn't like this back in the 50s when only white men were allowed to go to college.
Hi,
I
everybody.
wonder what changed. Hello, everyone.
My name is David Bell.
My name is Tom Ryman.
And we just watched PCU.
Oh, man.
Man, did we.
PCU.
Fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
Wee.
What are you, a narc?
No, I'm a pre-frosh. Admissions arranged for me to spend the night at your frat.
Well, here's all you need to know. Classes, nothing before 11. Beer, it's your best friend. You drink a lot of it. Women, you're a freshman, so it's pretty much out of the question. It's a whole new ball game on campus these days, and they call it PC.
Before we get started, big thank you to Burrito.
Thank you.
Our Patreon producer who had us watch this movie,
Indeed.
PCU. A movie that you cannot find.
It is shockingly unavailable.
It's almost as if the people who made it buried it. This is from 1994. This is Animal House for a New Generation. I believe that's how it was even pitched. I think that's on the poster.
It was on the poster. That's definitely what they were going for. I remember the radio ads for this. Like, they were really trying to... This was a small movie that was trying to get word of mouth, and it did get a lot of good word of mouth. Like, this was a small but very buzzy film in 1994.
This is a film you can still find it on online. Not even torrenting. It's one of those movies that clearly the studio does not care about it so much that people have just slapped up free versions of it and no one's taking it down, and that's how we watched it.
Yeah, did you happen to notice anything about the website where we watched it, Dave?
No. Why? Oh, no, what was it?
Like the guy, whoever uploaded it had a link to like a Trump's Second Amendment album.
Oh, my God.
We watched it on a fucking crank website.
Of course we did. Of course we did. This movie, okay, so this is starring Jeremy Piven.
That's your first problem right there.
It might be his best role.
Disagree. His best role is Razor in Judgment Night.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. You're right.
When Dennis Leary pushes him off the roof.
So this is his second best role. He is 29 when he made this.
A hand to the face push too. I just want to want to point that out. It's real disrespectful. Anyway,
this was a Comedy Central favorite.
Mainstay. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're of an age, you probably know this movie by heart. I certainly watched it a lot as a kid.
If you were in middle school in the mid 90s, from anywhere between 1994 to 1998, then you saw this movie a lot on cable.
Yes. I saw it a lot when as a child, like I want to say like 10, 11, like that age. And then obviously I saw pieces of it on Comedy Central for the next decade.
Forevermore.
It's got an interesting cast. It not only does it have Jeremy Piven, but it very notably has Jon Favreau.
Yes.
Where, kids, remember when he used to be an actor, a comedy actor more than a director?
I pointedly suspect that is the reason why this movie is hard to find.
Well, yeah, there's a few. Jessica Walter.
Jessica Walter is in this. I definitely did not remember her.
Another shock that I didn't remember is Jake Busey. Maybe go, Jake. as a stoner, which makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's the least threatening role he's ever played.
Yeah, David Spade.
David Spade, of course. There is I guess you couldn't really call it a cameo, but I can't pronounce his name, but his name is Rob Grofer. He was on the Vacant Lot. It was a sketch comedy show on Comedy Central in the mid '90s. Sort of like an also ran Kids in the Hall. They were a Canadian comedy troupe. He's the head of the computer nerds that keeps chasing after our main character.
Familiar, yeah.
He showed up I think he was also on the Jenny McCarthy show because she poached a few people from the Vacant Lot, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So not only does this have Jon Favreau, another interesting thing, it was co-written by Zach Penn, who is the writer of The Avengers, several X-Men movies, Ready Player One, The Incredible Hulk. He wrote a Spielberg film. So there are reasons why...
I'm sorry, did he not write Superman Returns? Did I fuck that up?
I
thought he did.
I'm not... Hold on, let me look real quick.
I may have screwed that up. My mistake.
He did PCU, then he did Inspector Gadget, and then he did Behind Enemy Lines, and then he went right into some X-Men. He wrote X2, the best of those X-Men's. And so this is all to say that this is a guy, he wrote Free Guy as well. This is a guy who has industry pull and Jon Favreau. So like, I'm no conspiracy theorist, but I suspect, like you said, this movie is being tucked away a little bit, but we remember. Another extremely bizarre aspect of this movie, before we even get into the movie, is the director is what's his name? Hart Bochner, otherwise known as
Ellis from Die Hard.
Ellis in Die Hard. Yeah.
And
remember Ellis?
In many ways, PCU is a movie that could only have been made by the coked out maniac from Die Hard.
Yeah. He went on to direct High School High, the John Lovitz Dangerous Minds parody, which I have not seen since I was a kid.
I saw that in the theater.
I suspect, me too. I suspect that is not a good movie now, but I don't know.
I never felt the need to revisit it at age 13, so...
Yeah. PCU.
Pretty sure I was their target demo. Yeah, so PCU, Dave.
What did you think? When was the last time you watched it?
I don't think I'd seen it in about 25 years, but...
Same.
I used to really like this movie. I thought this movie was very funny. Coming back to it, the parts that I remembered being really funny are still really funny.
Agreed.
There's still funny stuff in this movie. It's just... It's such an dare I say an embarrassingly centrist movie. Like, this movie is written from it's a movie written by a centrist white man, like a person who has never faced any kind of difficulty and thinks the problem is that everybody just needs to relax every once in a while. I don't think it's bad to analyze this movie from a political perspective, reflecting the politics of the 90s. Right. Because that's what it's a satire of that. So you have to, in order to engage with the movie invites it, and you sort of have to. Yeah, like you said. My overall thought is that this movie could have been a Dazed and Confused or an Empire Records if it weren't for the PCU stuff. Like, it gets dragged down by that stuff, because otherwise it's what you said. There are visual gags and lines in this that I was like, that's a good joke. That was a really good idea. There are moments in this movie that are truly inspired, where it's like, holy shit, that's a great joke. At its heart, it's a very classic plot. Is the party house has to put on a party, one last party, not get kicked out, yeah, it's because of the stuffy dean. Because of the stuffy dean and the rich kids want to push it. The stuffy dean and the rich kids. Yep. And I think this movie, I know what it thought it was doing, because it was like, what if we do Animal House with a modern college? And the writer, I should note, came out of, because this actually reminded me a lot of Hampshire College, a college I didn't go to, but I partied a lot at, where like it was a very free spirit, it's very liberal leaning. I think this takes place. It's not a real college, but it's Connecticut. Yeah, it's like, it's very much, New England college. And
that was a college where you could major in anything, and they make fun of that here, where he says like, hell, you could do Nintendo or Game Boy if you know how to bullshit, which is exactly what it like Hampshire College was like. And so like I know where this person is coming from.
Right. It's a
like,
it's a lampooning a liberal
House?
arts college.
Yeah, Animal House and a liberal arts college. But it is embarrassing. It's the way it portrays that, and it's what you said.
Yeah, it's just such a boring centrist view of it, and I hadn't revisited this. I had forgotten about this culture, but like this was very much the culture of comedy, and I guess like quote unquote edgy comedy of the 90s was like taking the piss out of the PC crowd, like, oh, PC culture is taking I mean, it's the mentality now, but like it was a little bit different. I'm trying to articulate it, but like I had forgotten about this vibe, so being like thrust back into this vibe, and it's just so clear to me what the problem is, you know. So it's like these are all strong, like the first thing we see is the vegetarians protesting their Sloppy Joe Day or whatever. So the Animal House goes in there and throws meat all over them, and they all get outraged. And it's like, and then the womanists who are like don't want anyone anywhere near men, and are just everybody is such an over the top straw man. It was like it made me question you would hear all of these things, right? You like these straw men that are in this movie were like in every comedy sketch, every late night sketch, every right wing or person who didn't realize they were right wing yet, but every like comedian was making jokes about this sort of thing, about all these like, oh, this sensitive new breed of kid or whatever, and it's just right, and it's all like did any of these people ever actually exist?
Right, and it makes it toothless, right? Like I'm reminded of Lady Ballers, a movie that also like recent that's trying to portray liberals, and you realize like you can't really lampoon something if you don't understand it, and like if you don't, and what ends up happening is like you're not offending anybody, even the people you want to offend, because you don't know where to stick the knife. Like you can't like to make fun of liberalism. You have to first start somewhere that's familiar. So when you start with a straw man and then you're like, whoa, can you believe these people? I'm like, no, I literally can't, because they don't exist.
Yeah, I don't think any of the people you showed us in this movie are real. And again, it's a satire. Yeah. It's supposed to be the most over the top version of this, but like
I get where it's coming from, because I remember at Hampshire College there were demonstrations a lot.
Yeah.
And some of them would be a little silly.
Yeah.
And that happens at college. College kids are young.
And they're and they take themselves so seriously. Like I'm not saying you can't make fun of this. Like, you can make fun of people that are so uptight about that stuff. You can. But like the way that they do it in this movie is presenting, it's just so over the top that it's not satire. Like it's like Jeremy Piven, every time he encounters the womanists, like we're not given any reason for why they hate him. He walks up and he just says, he's like, oh, here are the womanists, they hate men. He walks up, good morning, ladies, and they just unload toxic bullshit, like you like dumb dog, penis man, get your penis away from us. Like it's like all these things that nobody's ever said.
Right, it's like that's not feminism. That's just an asshole.
Yeah, these are just assholes.
That's just a person who's a weird asshole.
You're just showing somebody saying hello, and then people being assholes to him for no reason. Like, can you believe these people? Look at how ridiculous this mentality is. And it's like, what are you even making fun of here?
It's embarrassing. Yeah. It plays into, so there's this thing. I mean, it's very funny how you can see it even in the 90s, but of course, every generation, the same thing happens, right? Someone declares, kids today are too soft. Kids before were better. And it's just very funny that they're saying that now. They're saying that in the 2000s. They say it here in the 90s. I'm sure there's an 80s movie that says that. Mm-hmm. It's always that message. So it makes this toothless. It does not stand the test of time.
No. We keep, especially since the PC thing just keeps getting recycled over the same shit.
Any plot that declares kids today are not good or they've lost their minds, you're instantly losing.
You immediately lose all credibility.
Yep, and you lose the test of time. You might get some like old people who are into it when it comes out, or young people. Again, we liked this when we were children because we didn't understand the context of it. It's one of those where, like, when I saw it as a child, I didn't even think about the politics, right?
Well,
I wasn't thinking about that.
I just assumed it was like, because this, like I said, you would see all of the head vegan protester, the head black protester, who I think is the guy from The Shield, the lead of the gay protesters.
Right.
They're all just like these lazy stereotypes that I saw all over TV, all over movies. So like I just remember not even seeing that shit when I was a little kid. I just saw your major is Sanskrit. It's a 5,000-year-old dead language. It's Latin. It's the best I can do. And then the guy's phys ed. Seriously? Okay, you're out of my room. Just get out of my room. Like, that's the stuff I remembered.
I remember the jokes. Yeah.
That's, where's Gutter? He's probably sitting in the parking lot picking his nose, and it does a Family Guy cutaway to him sitting in a parking lot picking his nose.
Yeah. Man, yeah, I guess we can talk about some of the jokes. I really like the visual joke of when the kid first shows up and you see the pictures slowly degrade.
Yeah.
And like to these more and more indifferent and shitty. Yeah. That's both exposition and a joke where you know exactly I know exactly what happened. That's a great visual idea. I still like fucking what was I've done a little collage work myself.
Oh, that guy.
I love that fucking line.
Those two guys, David Spade and his sidekick, are so fucking funny.
Yeah.
In this movie. Like, that's what the big positive I can say for it. Like, I can tell this movie, the thing that sets this movie apart from Lady Ballers is David Spade and the white supremacist characters.
Humor.
Well,
yes.
yeah, and it has actual humor and actual jokes in it. But like, I'm talking about from the political like Lady Ballers is claiming that it's like, oh, this is a nothing sacred. We're making fun of everybody, but no, you're not.
No,
but like, this movie is trying to be like, oh, we're taking the piss out of all these self-serious liberal college students. They just need to relax a little bit, but they still recognize that like the white supremacists are the establishment and are bad.
Yes. So the movie, its heart is in the right place in that sense.
Yes.
Where the PC, the quote, and I remembered that, is the PC characters are like background. They're like the chorus. And then the movie draws a very clear line where they're like David Spade and these guys, they're fucking Nazis.
They're just straight up Nazis. Yeah. They're really funny, but they're the bad guys. And
I want to talk about the message of this because there's it's very 90s. So like, I don't know if you noticed this. So the film is mocking, again, it's the idea is it's mocking feminism. It's mocking, it's mocking like all the quote unquote PC things, you know, like the gay kids, the people, the black rights, the vegetarians, all that, right? And they're saying this is all silly.
They call them, it's like, oh,
it's all silly.
They'll have a new cause next week. They treat it all as frivolous.
Yeah. And so then we get the Pit. These are our people. And like I said, this could have been like Empire Records because the Pit is pretty fun. They're cool people. Like they're doing bands and stuff. So it was like, oh, I wish they kind of just focused on this, but whatever.
Yeah. I would have just preferred to do that.
And they're like cool and they're like a little punk rock. And
they're very 90s, like grunge slacker punk rock. Yes.
Yeah. And there's a part where Jessica Walters says like, I've had enough with you nihilists. Like she talks about dangerous nihilists is how she refers to them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I only point that out because of how funny the idea is. This movie to me almost felt like it felt like it almost got the point and then just didn't. It could have easily been a satire that was correct because the dangerous nihilists are basically like causes suck, right?
Yeah.
And then they do this party. they almost get kicked out. And so the other thing is happening is Jessica Walter is the dean, right? And she's trying to placate like the causes, but she clearly doesn't care. And then she has her stuffy old white bosses. And what the victory of this movie is that the nihilists successfully get this woman fired by these old white guys. And it's very funny to me because you talked about how David Spade are like the bad guys. They ultimately still win.
Yes.
Because what they're saying in this is it's such a centrist position that serves the purpose of the establishment. The establishment would love everybody to just party and get drunk and be a nihilist because then they get to do whatever they want, just like what happens in this movie.
The climax is Jeremy Piven leads all of the student body in a triumphant chorus of "We're not going to protest." He basically tells them to shut up.
To the benefit of the establishment.
To the benefit of the establishment, yeah. They don't get the house back.
No.
I mean, they do. That's the whole reason to get Jessica Walter fired. So they do get the house back. But they're still serving the establishment. You're right.
Jeremy Piven is this white guy who's probably they all feel very privileged.
Well,
like the whole idea is he's just in college indefinitely.
Yeah, he's talking about how college is like this. None of this matters. But like I think that's the problem with this movie is it never satirizes those characters. Like it doesn't lampoon that viewpoint. Like it's dumb to care viewpoint. Which is so easy to make fun of. It's
so 90s to not even notice that you're doing this.
that you're not doing that at all.
It would have been amazing if the reveal is Jeremy Piven goes on to become a senator, because that's a guy who might go on to just be the establishment. And so in the end, the people protesting have a point. The things they're saying is bad is playing out in the movie. That's what's so funny about it, is like they're right. The feminists are right. Like the woman gets fired and by the old white guys, the establishment. Like that's what happens in the fucking movie that doesn't even realize that that's what's happening. It's just really funny to watch a movie that's like making fun of the things.
Right. And like
the people pointing out exactly what's going on in the movie.
And the big ridiculous crime that Jessica Walters is doing is replacing the school mascot, which is an Indian with a bird, a heron.
Yeah.
And they're treating it like the height of ludicrousness.
It's just really funny because it really is. It's the opiate for the masses. It's like, hey guys, you don't want to care about stuff. That's lame to care about stuff, to protest. Protests are bad. When has a protest done something good? Let's all swear that we're not going to protest to help these old white guys push out the dean that they didn't like to begin
power.
With. Holy fucking shit, movie.
Yeah, it's and like they go out and attack the vegetarian protesters for no reason. It's the first thing we see them do, and like that's the reason why the pre-fresh character Tom, who's we're sort of following. He's just touring the college for a day. He's barely in it. Who is that
guy? He's like terminally horny.
Is he? Has he been in other stuff?
No, I don't know. Just his character in this was like painfully horny.
Oh, he was
from the start.
Yeah, and he gets a sex prize for no reason at the end.
He does. I liked the structure of this idea, which is that he just keeps accidentally making people mad.
Yeah,
and then actually. Yeah, and he's just constantly getting chased for the movie. You're right, though. He is not the main character at all. But I do like the idea that at the end, they're like, where are we going to get people? And so, like, he's been amassing people the entire time. That's a good payoff. There's some good narrative work in this.
I just wish the jokes were better. And, like, for that part of it, like, I wish it's made in the early 90s. So, I guess you can, I don't know, but I wish, like, it's a great idea. Like, I like the idea of him continuously stumbling into these different groups and pissing them off. But, like, they could have been more clever and pointed and truer to life with the satire of it. Like, the what he does to make them angry.
Right.
Like he bumps into the black guy who just gets mad at him literally for being white. That's it. That is it. The women hate him for being a man.
Right. They're trying to do the like, oh, it's actually you guys.
It's all ridiculous, isn't it?
Sexist.
Isn't it how silly it is? Yeah, when you reduce it, like, I mean, like I'm sure there are, I don't know. It's
they hold a fucking like there's this there's like there's a moment they introduce the band name, and the band name is Everyone Gets Laid, and they go like, oh, people are gonna hate this, and I was like, what? Wait, am I missing something?
Right, yeah, Piven is like, it's disgusting, it's offensive, I love it.
Yeah,
is
and
it?
It's like, it's not good enough. That's not good enough to work. And then all the womanists get mad at it, and I'm like, I don't know why they're getting mad at this.
Why would they be mad at this?
Yeah, it's so weird.
Why would anyone be mad at this? It's so infantile. Like, it's a college party. I mean, they've got that right at least.
Yeah.
Like everyone getting up in arms over what's going on a college campus.
Oh, 100%. It's just, it's just so toothless in the things that they're like, this is we're going to offend them with this. And then it's something like that.
So like,
the word gets laid. It's just like,
you know how all feminists hate men irrationally, like a bull seeing red. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And like there's like the casual racism. Like, did you notice the lead computer geek that's yelling at him is Asian? And they just go, they glide right by that. Like,
they love that.
It's so funny what this movie is claiming to be and what it actually is.
Yes. Again, it's embarrassing. It's so of its time. I think the strengths is that like the basic premise, again, I like the use of George Clinton in there.
Sure.
So I guess what it is I looking at this, like, I can see why the writer went on to make more. And what I mean by that is like there's a very good use of like all these tumblers kind of coming into play. Mm-hmm. They send out Jon Favreau, and Jon Favreau stops at Jake Busey. I do like the stoners. They are also cartoonishly stoned, but they're very funny.
Yeah.
About it, Jake Busey is, but the moment he smokes weed, I got like, oh no, are we gonna have like I smoke weed, I'm hallucinating. And to their credit, they kind of toned that down more than I had remembered.
All it really does.
Like he has that dream, and then we have the blow me where the Pampers is. But that's like him mishearing and being paranoid.
And becoming paranoid, yeah. They really just, what happens is he kind of forgets and falls asleep, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty accurate.
I like the guys who are like putting on they do it a few times, they're putting up flyers, and they're like, it's too hard, man. Let's quit.
That's another one. That's been in my memory for the past 3 decades. It's like, this is let's give up. Good. They say it twice.
And that's good. Like, that's almost taking the piss out of the nihilist stuff. Like, this had a big crossover with like the punks that I came up with. Mm-hmm. And like, it's just funny though, is because even those punks still like cared about stuff. Like, punk has always been a bit nihilist, but it's always been like very anti-racist,
very social justice,
anti-war, social justice stuff. So it's like, it's just very silly to watch this and go like, I think there was a way to do it. You just need to make the grunge nihilists still also kind of give a shit about this stuff.
I think they were just too worried about making them quote unquote cool, like maintaining their coolness throughout, which, man, I really need to talk about Jeremy Piven in this movie. Like,
oh my God.
I remember him being really funny, but like watching this now, he's just repellent to me. He is clearly too old for this role.
Yeah.
He's too old.
Like I said, I looked it up. He's 30.
It's creepy that he's playing this role.
He's 30 years old. And maybe if they played that up, because the idea is he's been there for 7 years, the idea that he's just like refuses to leave, but he doesn't really have much of an arc.
We don't learn anything about him.
The funniest thing he does is when he's asleep, I thought, with a cigarette gag. I thought is very fun. When he's snoring at the cigarette in his mouth, it's like a drag of the cigarette with every snore. That's a great visual gag. There's some good visual gags.
He's got that huge fish tank full of cigarette butts. The flashback when he was roommates with David Spade. I heard you were a roommate with him.
That's funny, but that made me not like him. Where I was like, he's an asshole.
Well, yeah, but
they're both bullies.
Like they should have leaned into that more. But like that is such a funny cutaway.
It is. It really is. Him just being a nightmare.
He's a
an absolute
maniac.
nightmare.
Yeah. Just
clearly
terrifying
crawling
David
on
Spade.
the furniture. Yeah.
He's trashing the room like a chimp.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. He's generally just kind of repellent.
He's not
like
likable.
He feels pesty for the main woman who just
not really. He doesn't say or do anything pesty. It's just that he's too. I think he's miscast. He's too old.
He's too old.
His energy is wrong. Like he's supposed to be more of like the cool guy, like a Van Wilder or like an Otter from. He's supposed to be Otter, right? From Animal House, and his charisma is different. It's just like I don't know. He feels
it's that
weird in this
with all
movie
the
to me.
shitty things he's doing.
Yeah, like we were really into bullies at this period. I don't know if we were really. I don't know if that's accurate, but like this period of like alternative comedy felt like bullying was more common in it at this time in my memory to me, but that could be totally off base.
There's this weird. We covered one of the first Hangout movies, fucking American Graffiti.
Yeah,
and this also has a little of that, where the characters, like, it's just funny how this happens. Is that whenever movies have like the cool characters that we're rooting for, I think they fall into this a lot. Like going back and watching Van Wilder, there's also that vibe of like it's Ryan Reynolds. Like he's not a bad looking guy. He's on top of everything. Or like you forget how subversive like Revenge of the Nerds was, because it was like nerds. There was a time like when nerds were made fun of in these movies.
They're treated
right?
like ghouls. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Revenge of the Nerds, ironically, they're ghouls in that because women are not treated well in that movie.
Nope.
And so like most of these movies, women always get the fucking short straw in these movies, because it's like, even when they try to subvert it, there'll still be some horrifying fucking scene. We did Real Genius. That was another one where they're trying to subvert it.
I forgot about
that.
But
ultimately, it's still like this pretty guy who has nothing bad going for him, you know?
Right.
Usually just a white dude who, like, they have to, like, even in this, it's like, it's their own problems, right? They caused all these things. They're burnouts in college who aren't doing anything and are just coasting, and they're going to be fine. Like, that's kind of ultimately like, they're all going to be fine.
Yeah.
They caused all this damage, $7,000 worth of damage. And then they throw a huge party.
They raise the money by having George Clinton come play at their house. It's, it's fine.
Yeah. But all of these movies have always been that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they've always been about people who are, we're told are the underdogs, but they never really feel like the underdogs. We want to be them. We want to be cool like them. You know what I mean?
Right. They're never
very few movies.
They're never really not in the position of power. Like it's punching down, I think is what I'm trying to say. This movie is punching down a lot with Piven and that. Yeah. Yeah. Just his point of view, basically.
When we talked about American Graffiti, I mentioned Dazed and Confused. That's why I like Dazed and Confused, because they start with the freshmen who are getting paddled, who are getting tortured. And like the cool kids are almost like ambivalent, you know what I mean? Like it's about wanting to get with the cool kids, and not being one yourself. And they make that separation of like, okay, Ben Affleck, he's the fucking bully. Our main guy, he's not a nerd. He's not, he's a white kid in the suburbs who looks fine, but like they still like give us a reason to root for him as the underdog. Where I feel like too many of these movies don't.
They forget to do that after a while.
Jeremy Piven, like you said, the first thing he does is dump meat on a bunch of people. And they're trying to act like these people are somehow the bullies.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like they don't give them, like, they're protesting, I guess, but nothing's changing for them, right? Like they're not actually changing the school. They're not in charge. They're not privileged. They're just protesting. They're just loud.
Yeah, so they have to make them irrational maniacs.
And like evil, yeah.
So they have
to create a straw man, It's that.
Its movie is so... like it's ultimately like the movie's point of view is everybody just needs to relax a little bit. Like everybody just needs to stop thinking about, like one of the characters even says it. It's like maybe stop thinking about how so you want me to, she says, so you want me to stop thinking about how women are being oppressed for a couple hours and just enjoy myself? And the other character says, yes, exactly.
Right.
Which is funny on its face. But
I mean, that's an Onion article that's done way better, which is feminists. It's like something like woman forgets feminism to enjoy a few hours of TV. And it's like, that is actually a very grounded idea that I've run into with people.
But it's not
like, I just want to enjoy this.
But they're not approaching it from the same understanding. Not. Like, this movie is approaching it like misogyny is a problem they're inventing for themselves.
Yeah, it's the Ben Shapiro, when you go to college, it's all dumped on you. The teachers tell you you're bad for being a man and stuff like that. Like, the shit that just doesn't happen.
Right, and like they have the one character who's they keep mentioning, they're on to the last week it was the ozone layer, this week it's meat, and like they have reversible protest signs or just blank ones that they can write new causes on. It's like they just pick up. It's like.
Right.
The idea that you just go to college and pick up causes as a fad, which is a thing that some people do for sure, but like that's what movements are. Like I don't know. It's just this movie doesn't understand the thing it's lampooning.
Yes, and it gets close again. Like, for example, the arc at the end is Jeremy Piven says like, "Hey, these are still kids. They like to party.
Yeah,
we throw a cool party."
It gets very close.
Yeah, and so the idea at the end, which again they is that he unites all these people under just partying, and they're like, these kids, they might be misguided or whatever, but they all like to party, not like the Nazis. The Nazis are actually bad, so they're making that distinction.
Yeah, but
what they don't understand is that those kids always like to party. Like they like that's the thing is all the kids. It's very lady ballers, and what I mean by that is like they start with the hero going like, I'm perfect and the world has to change around me. Mm-hmm. Is how,
and then he's
so
right.
Anti-story, and then they're right,
and then he's right,
and so they have to give the arc to all the PC kids, and it's like, no, those kids knew how to. Like, I knew those kids in college, the kids who protest and take up causes. They also knew how to fucking party. They don't have to be taught that. And again, they're almost there when Jeremy Piven's like, they're kids, they don't have a party. And it's like, yeah, I know. That's why you're portraying them weird. Is like they need to just lighten up. And it's like they in real life, they already are. Like, it's the straw man thing.
Also, the movie never articulates why any of this is bad.
No, not at all.
Like, why is it bad that the black students were leading a demonstration about how the black people are subjugated in America? Like, right. It's like the movie is presenting that we should be annoyed with that because it's harshing Jeremy Piven's buzz. Basically, It's harshing his good time, and that's why we should be annoyed at that.
Yeah,
it's like, what?
Yeah, it's real embarrassing.
Like you can lampoon this, just not like that.
Yeah, it is. It's man. They thought they were doing something. They really did.
It's so funny that we're like, their hearts are in the right place because they do the bare minimum of acknowledging that the white supremacists are bad.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's extremely centrist, right?
Yeah,
because they're like,
embarrassingly
white
centrist.
Supremacists are bad, but then again, in the end, who's getting benefited? Like, yeah, sure, David Spade is getting run out of school, but all those other kids are still there. The people in charge are these kids are going to rule the world. They never reflect on like Jeremy Piven. There should be an arc where he realizes that these causes do matter, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would be the arc that you give him, is like, they're right. This school is run by the establishment. They literally, in the credits, they have a section called the establishment crediting them, like Jessica Walter and stuff like that. And they don't realize that it's like, yeah, that's what the kids were protesting. They're protesting the fucking establishment.
Right.
It's so weird.
It's like, I wanted to take the movie aside a few times and be like, where do you think the power lies?
Right.
Like, what do you think is happening here? I don't know.
Yeah. I again, it's almost there. Like, for example, This is why I like punk. There's a song by Against Me called "Baby I'm an Anarchist," and it's about anarchists versus liberals, which is that idea of like, protests. If you're just protesting and you're doing it, like it's that idea of like, if you're protesting but you don't want to be disruptive, why are you protesting? That is very much a thing where it's like, oh, if they get to just like gate you off in this little area and let you protest and then still do the thing anyway, what's the point? And I think that's what they were trying to do here, right? Which is the idea that the protesters aren't actually making a change. They're part of the system. That I think that's the idea, right? Which is like,
I don't think so. I think this movie thinks it's frivolous.
That's what I mean. They're saying protesting is frivolous.
Oh, I thought you were saying the movie is treating it as part of the establishment.
No, it's just frivolous protesting would be part of the establishment, right? Is like, oh, we're mad about this thing, but you can easily placate us,
Yeah.
And so like, I think that's what they're trying to say, but like, it would have been neat if the idea is like, that is frivolous unless you add a little bit of the chaos of these nihilists and fuck shit up a little. Like the idea of like, all right, let's take your cause and our energy or something like that. You could see that.
They do that a little bit in the end. Like when Moonbeam comes up, she's like, oh, I brought my own sign. So you see that like, it is still doing the thing where she just kind of is Fairweather Johnson. She just goes from cause to cause, but she is consistently against the fucking establishment.
Exactly.
She's like, I'm down for whatever as long as it's against the establishment.
Exactly. It's getting around that, but like, if the message was like, no, you got to throw a brick or two sometimes, because sometimes shit doesn't get done unless, we're seeing this play out right now. College protests, watching this during the height of a college protest right now.
It became
where they're like, ooh, protests are bad. And it's like,
it made some of this movie a little hard to swallow, admittedly.
Well, because it's a straw man version of what protesting is, right?
And it's such it's such a dismissal of it from a position of comfort. Like the stuff where I keep bringing it up where he runs into the black student demonstrators, and it's like making it equivalent with like moony kids who just don't or just want to follow whatever cause is in a fad, and like, oh, they just need to relax. It's like, what are you talking about, movie?
It's literally it's the equivalent of like,
you've never had any adversity in your life, have you?
Right. It's the equivalent of like, I'm all for protesting, but don't you block my car.
Exactly. But do it in a place that I can ignore it completely. Oh, so do it in a way that is totally useless. Okay.
That's why they had an opportunity to like combine those two ideas and say like, no, you got to fuck shit up. I would argue that protesters already know that.
Yeah.
But it's just at least that would give it something, but it's just from this stance of just like, don't believe in anything. It's not cool to put yourself out there.
I mean, this is
basically that idea.
This is
believing in something is lame.
There's a mean streak of that from comedy from this era. South Park came from this era, and it is still doing that. South Park's mantra is, it is dumb to care.
Yes. And it's very funny because South Park has admitted that they've been wrong. Like the Al Gore thing, where it's like, I wonder if maybe you should have cared. Maybe you should have fucking listened.
Perhaps not every... It's that thing, it's that Ben Shapiro thing again, like making fun of Obama crying over Sandy Hook. It's like there is a certain type of person that can't fathom anybody genuinely caring about a cause that is not selfishly motivated.
Yeah, and most likely because they're in a position where nothing will change for them no matter how the world looks.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so like that's why it's such a hard pill to swallow in this movie where Jeremy Piven is like clearly like a fairly well-off college kid. I know David Spade calls him like a poor, but it's like they're rich like compared, like he's still going to college.
He's on his 7th year in fucking school in Connecticut.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, exactly. You might be poor compared to the character of David Spade.
But like you only have one yacht and he's got 4.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's just a hard pill to swallow to have Jeremy Piven, this 30-year-old guy, like, everybody relax. And it's like shut the fuck up,
you are never going to have any adversity. It's like, your life is going to be fine no matter
You are
what
Jeremy
happens
Piven.
to you. But
Oh
sure,
my
tell the
God.
women and the black people they need to shut up.
Yeah. It's so like it's bleak.
The two groups in the movie. I didn't mean to separate. You know what I meant.
Yeah, we all know
the
what you meant.
womanists and the black students. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just real bleak. It's just a real bleak movie. It's again like to its. I'm not even going to try to give it credit.
The gags are still funny, but it's like. It's a movie it's a movie.
It's not Lady Ballers, but like it just shares some DNA. Like in Lady Ballers, they have the evil journalist who's the position of power.
Oh yeah.
It's that where like a movie, and it's just
to
like
make an effective satire, you need to understand where the power lies.
Exactly. And that Lady Ballers, that's why it's toothless, where they're like, you know how local journalists are so powerful and rich? And it's like, no, I don't know how that is.
I don't think that's true.
And so PCU is the same, where it starts in this world that doesn't exist, and then it tries to satirize that non-existent world.
It's like, yeah, you know how hippies and vegetarians just strong arm us into getting terrorize us into getting their way all the time? No.
And where any incremental change, where any little thing, where it's like, oh, like any little thing is seen as like, look how they're taking over, and it's like, yeah, no, they're gaining very small grounds. Yeah. It's the same with I was working on a script about how America sees manliness, and we have been afraid of the feminization of men since the fucking dawn of America. And of obviously before it. Anytime we get a little more progressive, even a little, literally they were concerned about the feminization of men when we stopped having wars. And we were like, they're not going to be manly anymore.
Yep.
Any fucking progress, as little as it is, and it really speaks to how hard it is for women or any minority or any group to make any fucking progress when any little incremental thing is seen as an all-out assault. Where it's like, you think about the 90s, what was happening.
Yeah.
And what is this, 93?
It takes place in 94.
So when were the LA riots?
3 years prior.
Yeah, it's just shit like that where it's like, yeah, when we were any moment of us being like, maybe things are fucked up for people who aren't white men. Someone makes a movie like this of like, can you fucking believe it? And it's just so, oh my God.
Really, really dumb. I do love that these movies exist, though. I think these movies
I was laughing.
Are valuable. Well, no. Yeah, it's funny. But also, I think I like that they exist in terms of like taking the cultural temperature. Like you can look back and see, like, I'm glad all this dumb shit, like from the, past several decades exists, because we can take the temperature of, we can look back and be like, oh, that's kind of what the mentality was. And this is what, I don't know. It's there. This movie has passed into historical artifact for me.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, so when I say I was laughing I was also laughing at it.
Yes.
Not with it.
Oh yeah.
Man. Like I said, it's toothless. So I'm not watching it, fucking clutching my pearls here. I'm laughing at how stupid it is. And that's fun to me. And then on top of it, I've brought up this movie several times when people are like, people are too PC. And it's like, they literally made a movie called PCU in the 90s. I'm with you. I'm glad they make these movies so that we realize just how stupid it is,
Yeah. It's like, yeah. So, I don't know. I think
don't bury it, Jon Favreau.
Let it exist.
Embrace it. Let's get a re-release.
Put it on a DVD with Leonard Maltin doing an introduction, explaining the historical context of it.
God, I want that so bad.
Oh, it'd be pretty great.
I like the Kane Hackman theory guy.
Oh, Pigman?
Yeah,
that's another thing I remembered. Pretty much the entirety
that was straight up
of
Hampshire College.
Oh yeah,
it's great.
Pretty much the entirety of Favreau's stuff I had remembered, and yeah,
he comes out of it fairly clean because he's playing like he's basically a wild animal in it. Like it's just very. I love that he's a music major who doesn't know shit about music. Is the idea, or he doesn't?
He just likes music. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked that.
He just doesn't know who George Clinton and Parliament Funkadelic are.
Yeah, that was a delightful little arc.
It's
Like I said at the start of this movie has the DNA of like Empire Records, but there's a reason why people love Empire Records and people don't talk about this movie.
Yeah, this one is it's too acidic. It's
bogged down.
Yeah, it's really bogged down with trying to make a point about how we all just need to relax a little bit and stop taking ourselves so seriously. And you can make that movie. It's just, you didn't do a very good job with this one.
Yeah, I would argue you can, but even then, like you look at the best hangout movies, they don't have messages.
No.
It's just us against the establishment, man. And then we defeat the establishment and then it ends, right? Like that's most of these movies. And like, I know some people have fond memories of PCU, but I guarantee that's people who haven't watched it in a while. Because even if you're like, you believe in what they're saying in this, I'd say it's still not like you said, Jeremy Piven is weird and creepy. It's still not like that great. It's got some good joke structure. It's got some good jokes here and there, but it rests so much on, look at how PC these kids are.
Yeah,
Isn't that funny?
The satire of it. And it just doesn't work.
Yeah. Jessica Walter, though.
Oh, she's killing it. I mean, there's that scene where it's just her and Spade yelling at each other.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, they didn't realize what they had.
Yeah, exactly. That's great.
He's destroying it from the fucking first sentence he has.
David Spade? Yeah.
Yes, he's so funny in this.
He got the assignment because, I mean, look at him. He's David Spade.
He's David Spade, yeah, he gets it.
I know what I look like. That group, that little fucking, they were
all funny as hell. His little sidekick, I forgot his name, DB, I think. Yeah. He's funny as shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, ultimately, I don't really think it needs to, I don't know. Maybe I'll watch it again in 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah, if you haven't watched it in a while, maybe watch it just
revisit it. It's, it's not like brutal. It's just embarrassing.
Exactly. Like I said, they thought they were making it in good faith.
Yeah.
Because they're trying to, they're not trying to say they're not trying to say these causes are dumb. I feel like they still say that, but like they're clearly trying to make this distinction where they're like, yes, there are Nazis, there are bad things, this is different. And all the PC characters are ultimately good. They're seen as good.
Yeah.
They just have to change their tune or whatever. I don't know.
Stop being so angry. Stop being so outraged, Dave. That's what it is. We just need to stop being so offended all the time.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
That's what it is. Do I offend you? And Ricky Gervais shows up at the end.
Atheist fucking drawn on
one of those
chest.
Fucking giant bicycles.
Yeah. It really is that. I think people know exactly the tone we're talking about. It's exactly... Everybody has had one edgy comic who talks about how edgy they are, and then they proceed to tell the worst jokes.
I would say it's even like lamer or tamer than Ricky Gervais. Like it's not as mean as Ricky Gervais. It's just very boringly milquetoast centrist.
Yeah,
written from a position of extreme comfort.
I can't even imagine like the term "everybody gets laid" being offensive in the 90s
on a college campus.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? If any,
I was listening to fucking the band Anal Cunt at this age.
Look at Goblin Cock.
Yeah. Fucking G.G. Allen. I was listening to G.G. Allen. Like, come on, guys. Get it together. Everyone gets laid. What the fuck?
They had to cover up the Cannibal Corpse albums at my record store.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Anywho, I guess we're done.
I think that's all we had. It's almost the length of the movie. We're done.
Yes. This movie is an hour and change. Thank you, Burrito. Thank you so much. This was genuinely a
good. I'm
pleasure
glad
to watch.
I revisited it. Yeah, it's a movie I might consider tracking down the DVD for just to archive it, Dave. To archive it.
for future generations.
Mm-hmm.
This was one where when I was watching, I'm like, I'm so glad we're covering this.
Yeah, I like being fascinated by eras.
Yeah.
And this is one I remember. So
for sure. This was through our Patreon, patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We have a tier where you can do custom We Just Watch podcasts, and that's what this is. But for just $5 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts like Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, Spiel Boys, all of those for just $5 a month. You get all of those. You can watch movies with us every Friday night Frankly, I would watch this on a Friday night because it's toothless.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know why I'd watch it. But yeah, we watch movies every Friday night. That's a whole thing. It's really fun. Check out our Patreon. It's good. It's a good thing. It's positive.
It's a positive thing. Yeah. We also have a store. Head over to gamefullyunemployed.com. You can find a link to our Teespring store where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs. You can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all sorts of stuff. Sorry, brain fart.
Yeah.
So, slap your little peepers onto that.
Yeah,
But try not to get offended.
Your Jeremy peepers.
There is a moment, he says it really quickly under his breath, but there is a moment when Piven and David Spade are having a tete-a-tete, and David Spade's like, okay, forehead, listen here. He calls him forehead. That's an improv. I rewound it to make sure I heard him because the way I delivered it, I highlighted it too much. Like he really slides it in there.
Amazing. Oh, Jeremy.
And Piven doesn't have any lines in that bit, so he just has to sit there and eat it.
Yeah, you eat it, Jeremy Piven. You eat it like it's Dennis Leary hurling you off of a... I love how many comedians have thwarted him.
Yes, yeah, have just eviscerated him on screen.
Ah, Piven. When will you learn? Hey, listen, our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can find him on twitter.com as The Corlew or go to shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. For more of his work, go to mvbramley.art. Our episode artwork is by Justin Brown, available on Twitter as Justin T. Brown or at Artness by JustinBrown.com. And finally, additional artwork is by Starlene Hodge. You can find her work at StarleneArts.com or on Twitter as StarleneX. Cool. Goodbye.